Hello, everybody. Oh, I forgot to actually angle the camera earlier. Whoops. We're still getting back into the swing of things. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Blanche Fitness. It's Friday, and you know what that means? It's time for functional home fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around the house. Hello! Yay! Good to see you. Good way to start. Oh my goodness, look at that. Subscribed at tier 1 for 8 months on an 8-month streak. Oh my God, Merriman Lyon. I don't know why I always say Merriman Lynn. Thank you so much. So wonderful, so wonderful. Yeah, finish up dinner. Don't worry, we're gonna chat for a little bit. Hello, everybody. We've made it to Friday. Oh my goodness, thank goodness. And I hope your day's going well. I hope your day's going well. It's been an interesting week. Obviously, when I got on the stream on Wednesday, it had not been a good day. And let me tell you, if there's one thing I really appreciate about these streams, it's the ability to just sort of be honest about where I am in any particular day. Today's been better. Today's been better. I'm just chilling a bit. And trying to figure out what I want to do with my weekend, you know, having one of those changing season introspective periods where I'm like, okay, there are a lot of things that I want to do. How do I start doing some of them? I don't know if you get that when the seasons change, but I feel like that always happens to me when they do. And yeah, so just sort of trying to sit with that and figure out what that looks like, and you know, figure out what I want to do. I would love to get this room a little bit better set up, I'll tell you that. That is definitely on my season change list, because it's kind of a mess in here. And I do have a dumbbell rack picked out to get for myself, which I'm very excited about, to start having some more weights in the house. That'll be very nice. But yeah, this room has been kind of a mess since I moved in. And that's not the worst thing in the world. That's just, you know, we prioritize things, and this isn't what has been prioritized yet. So perhaps over the coming months, as we're getting back into streaming, there will be changes a-brewing here in the Blanche Case Fitness streaming room. Woo! But for now, it's the end of the week, and it's very windy and cloudy outside, so I'm kind of hoping that maybe it'll start raining while we're in class. It's supposed to start getting chillier, like even more chillier next week, which I'm excited about, because I do love this season. But yes, here we are. We've made it back to another Friday, and I talked about this on Wednesday, but it is technically Rocktober, and we are going to take the month to do sort of a ramp-up program starting today. And what I told people on Wednesday is that potentially, we're going to see how I feel at the end of the month, but potentially I'm going to keep that sort of ramp up structure month over month, rather than having it just be like a one and done thing every few months. Just because I'm trying to figure out ways to make streaming as easy as possible for myself in terms of mental and emotional load. You know, I want to be able to build back into a schedule that feels good, that's not stressful, that I feel like I can maintain given everything else that I'm doing in my life. So potentially, and again, you know, we've got like 4 weeks of October. So maybe we get to the end of the month and I'm like, nah, you know what? I'm really feeling the groove, and I'm ready to start doing a few additional class plans. But yeah, that is, so I just sort of wanted to put that out there as a potential thing that we'll be doing as we move forward. For today, the important thing is we're starting a ramp up month. So we're gonna be introduced to our exercises, to the number of reps in each set, and each week for functional home fitness, what this means is that each week we will up the number of reps that we are doing for each exercise. And that's the way that we ramp up for these, you know, because it's a very different timer structure than the high intensity interval training stuff. So, welcome. Yay, ramp up. Couple of quick advisories, my usual pre-functional home fitness advisories. First of all, we're doing weight training with objects you can find around the house, like, say, bottles of cooking oil or textbooks. There are so many things in our homes that can be used for weight training, but because they are not designed for weight training, they're not designed ergonomically, they don't have the amount of weight written clearly in big numbers on the side. So if this is your first time at functional home fitness, err on the side of caution with what you're using for each of the exercises. Start maybe lower than you think you need to. Maybe pick up something that maybe feels a little bit lighter than you think you need, and go through the first set and see how that feels, and do it for all of the exercises and see how it feels. And then you can make the determinations. Okay, you know, I think I could have gone a little higher with this. Ooh, but for this one, honestly, this was the perfect amount, or I may want to use something slightly lighter. Just, you know, we want to be as safe as possible. And that means getting to know the objects that you are weightlifting with. And it just takes a little bit more time when we are using textbooks and laundry detergent. The other advisory is more generalized to free weight training, particularly arm exercises, where we generally have 2 weights of the same amount of weight, 1 in each hand, and we're moving the arms independently of one another. We are not symmetrical creatures. We all have stronger sides and weaker sides. So when you are loading yourself for free weight training, load based on the capacity of your weaker side, okay? Don't fall into the trap of thinking, well, if I want to strengthen that side, then what I need to do is just push it to get to where my stronger side is. But if it doesn't have the capacity to actually safely move that amount of weight, then it's going to be making unhealthy compensations to try and keep the weight in line, to try to not lose control of it, and it just puts us in the path of injury. So those are our advisories, and it's not quite raining yet, but there are a few droplets on my window, so we'll see maybe a brief October storm blasting through here. It's supposed to start snowing in the mountains next week too, which I'm excited about. But let's get going, my friends. It's weight training. It's a little bit of a chiller class than our HIIT stuff, which is kind of, I always find it a nice thing to sort of come to the end of a week. So let's do our pre-class checklist. Make sure you have your water in whatever vessel you're using. Make sure you have your comfy clothes, whatever that means to you. You've got your mat or mat-sized space on the floor. Yeah, dinner done just in time for warm-up. Be careful, you've got a lot of food in your stomach right now, okay? If you use a fitness wearable, we can turn it on now to a strength training setting. And making sure that you have, for this class, what you're going to be weightlifting with. So what I have today that I'm going to be using, I've got 2 of these cooking oil bottles, never opened, so I'm not worried about them spilling all over the place. Again, we have to pay attention to this stuff. And I've got a couple of big sort of textbooks, and I've got a tote bag as well, something that's going to have a handle on it. That I can load with the books, and I can, you know, more easily make heavier or lighter depending. All right, gonna take it easy. Good. Well, we are gonna start with our warm-up, my friends, because that is always where we start. Hiya. So, as long as you've got everything ready for yourself, let's get set up on our mats. That's not the app I wanted. Da, da, da. Hey, see, my phone has started giving me my timer app at the correct times again. That's nice. All right. Everybody on your mats, on your backs, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee, and as soon as you hear that horn go off, we will begin with hip rocks and bridges. And I'll move the oil out of the way. I'm gonna try having the horn up a little bit louder today than I usually do, just because I've been editing a lot of VODs over the last week, and noticing that the horn is never as loud in the recording as it feels to me in this tiny little room. And, you know, obviously it's super important that you, the exerciser, are also able to hear the horn and not just me. So if it is a little too intense, Amanda, just let me know in chat, and I can always turn it back down. But just gonna try that out because I want to make sure that you're able to hear the cues, because obviously they are super important. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's nice to, oh God, that is loud for me though. So if you tell me that it's too loud for you as well, I will not mind hearing that. But if you don't, we'll make it through. It'll be fine. It'll be absolutely fine. That's the thing about working out in a pretty small space, small echoey space with not a lot of stuff to soften or absorb the sound. And that's definitely one of the things that I want to try and build out a little bit over the winter months is just, yeah, put some personality into this room. Put some fun, put some art, put some equipment. You know, I've got this beautiful little desk in here that I got when we were still in a much smaller apartment, very tiny apartment. And you know, there just wasn't room for anything bigger. So I got this really adorable little desk. And when I moved in here, I put it in this room because I sort of had this idea of this room, this space being like, you know, my streaming studio and also like where I would edit things and stuff like that. But I have a totally different office for work that's much better set up and that has a much better desk for what I'm doing. And I don't really edit in here, you know, because I'm on my laptop, so I can take it anywhere in the house. So this desk has just been sort of chilling up here, and I'm trying to figure out what it makes sense to do with it. Whether I should even keep it, which, you know, feels a little weird, but then again, it also feels pretty silly to force myself to hang on to a desk that I'm not using, you know? Right now, it's basically just an unexpected storage area. like you can't see it, but right now it's covered in costumes and cosplay items that I haven't put away in their appropriate closet yet. That was from, God, maybe a month or two ago when my D&D group was meeting, and we just all randomly were like, we're gonna put on fun outfits today, which was wonderful, except then many of them ended up just sort of getting a new home on top of this desk. And yeah, so just trying to figure out, these are the weird things. Like, it's interesting when you move into a house and you're like, oh my God, suddenly I have so much more space. And, I don't have to get rid of the desk because there's space for it. But just because there is space for an item doesn't mean that it is valuable to keep or store that item. And that's definitely a lesson that I think I'm learning right now. So we'll see what happens. God, that is, yeah. I'm sorry, friends. I will probably complain about the volume of the horn for one class, the length of one class, and then I'll get over it. As long as it's, doing what it needs to do, I will get over it. But oh my goodness. So yeah, definitely one of the things I would like to do over the winter is just do something different with this room. I would love to repaint this room too, because I'm not honestly huge into this like mint green color. And there are sort of variations of it in a couple of different rooms, and I'm not crazy about it in any of them. It's just kind of it's not an interesting or a vibrant green, it's just kind of a milk toasty visual experience. And you want rooms that feel comfortable or feel energizing or have some sort of an emotional oomph to them. This color really just feels bland. It feels bland to me. And this is not a bland room. This is the room where we stream and where we do all these HIIT and strength training exercise classes. So yeah, I don't know. We will see. Again, many grand plans. So step one is to, prioritize and be like, okay, of these grand plans, what is actually, I am going to turn that down slightly, just a little bit. That's just a little too loud for me. Of these grand plans, what do I want to tackle first? Important not to try and take hold of too many elephants at the same time, and then look around and you're surrounded by behemoth creatures and don't feel like you have a handle on any of them. So we will see. Obviously you will see, since this is the room that you see when I stream. So you'll notice pretty quickly, I think, if I make any major changes to the setup. But I think it's time to start putting some focus on this space. And just seeing what we want to do with it. Okay. Plus, if I do start, got a nice old pop in the spine there. That was lovely. If I do start maybe making some more YouTube content at some point, this would be the room for that as well. So, gotta think about that set dressing life. Yeah. And I can't really turn the camera around because then I'd be backlit. And that would not be good based on my fairly limited knowledge of lighting principles. That is, something that you may want in very specific circumstances, but not generally when you want people to see your face. All right, hey. How are we doing? We're getting ourselves through this warm-up. I know for me, I've done an unexpected amount of sitting today, so it's nice to just sort of take it easy on the warm-up right now and just boot up all those systems in the way that we talk about. And, you know, like I was talking about on Wednesday, we do not have to take the same approach to the warm-up each time. So some days we're sort of really ready to dive in, and our approach to the warm-up reflects that. And some days we need the warm-up to really help us to engage with physical activity, with what we are asking our bodies to do, and to just help to build up to that place where we're like, all right, I'm ready for the rest of this workout. So today I am definitely allowing the warm-up to be a little bit more relaxed for myself, a little bit more chill, and to let it just be focused on getting myself ready for liftoff, ready for workout. So whatever you are using it for today, that is awesome. Because again, you know, all of the stuff that we do in these classes, like, even if you are taking it easy, they're still doing good things for you, you know? We do not need to be focused on pushing ourselves to the limit every single time that we do a class, right? And it's really important to start to learn to pay attention to what feels like it will be most useful and most helpful for my body right now. And that changes week to week, day to day. You know, that changes depending on whether you are injured or whether you've been doing an unexpected activity over the last few days, or how your mental health is, since, you know, mental health is a part of your overall health, because obviously it is, and it's just so stupid to me that we have these weird divides in our understanding of health, where we sort of portion it into distinct silos. We're like, okay, there's physical health and there's mental health, and those don't go together at all. But dental health is a totally different type of health. That doesn't count under physical health, and neither does vision. Vision health doesn't count either. So you have to just box all of these things in separate corners. Why? Who the hell knows, but because someone decided it. Probably because somebody decided that they would be able to make more money by doing that, because the root of many of the ills in our late stage capitalist society definitely does seem to stem from people just trying to screw over others financially by figuring out, oh, how can I finagle the most possible money out of this particular situation? Which is just depressing. Honestly, it's quite depressing, but here we are. So let's just remember, when we're here in class, that physical health and mental health are not two separate, siloed entities. They are components of a whole, and that whole is you, okay? You are the entity. And your physical and mental health are a package deal, my friends. I am thinking of removing kick-throughs from the warm-up and replacing them with another sort of shoulder-focused exercise. And I know that is just because we've done the exact same warm-up since I started streaming a year and a half ago. But honestly, like, I love kick-throughs and they have an absolute place in class, but I feel like we lose a lot of our momentum in the warm-up when we get to them. And, you know, because of the complexity of the exercise, the number of movement components, it just feels like we have this nice building of energy and it gets kind of flattened or, you know, steamed over when we hit the kick-throughs. So, something I'm thinking about. We'll see. Perhaps next week I will surprise you with my very first tweak to our warm-up sequence. Anything's possible, right? All right. Woo! Good job, everybody. Okay. Yeah. Ow. I need to clean that mat. I know I say it every time. I would not stop you from replacing kick-throughs. Yeah, I didn't think I would hear too many arguments against that particular plan. And don't worry, it would just mean that we'd be able to do them in other sets. Hey, that's awesome, right? That's what we were looking for? Mm-hmm. But yeah, you know, I love that warm-up sequence. But it wasn't designed by me. And I am feeling a desire to, you know, not change it willy-nilly, but to at least take a look at it and make sure that I feel good about all of the components, you know? And I feel like it is doing what we need it to do for this class. So, curiosity, willingness to re-examine what we're doing, to make changes when it's not working for us. All of these are very good things. Coordination makes me have to sort of stop more with the kick-throughs. Yeah. And then it's hard to get back into the burpees. And the burpees should be sort of the culmination, energy-wise, of the warm-up, you know? And there are plenty of other exercises that have the same, you know, focus on shoulder strength and focus on cardio, but because they are simpler movements, it won't sort of bind up your momentum in the way that I definitely have been finding that kick-throughs do. Some of it too, quite frankly, there's a mental block there. I definitely have one. Wouldn't surprise me if others of you have one as well. And, you know, sometimes what helps to break us through that is just change it up, put kick-throughs away for a little while, and then, you know, down the line, we can try to fold it back in and see how it feels. But, you know, continuing to throw ourselves at the same thing in the same way over and over again and hoping that things will just magically clear up, well, that's magical thinking that's not going to get us very far most of the time. Oh, hey, I mean, look, summer is a hard time And this summer was very hard. And obviously, like, it was hard for me. I stopped teaching. And a lot of it, you know, there was just a lot of changes over the summer and things, you know, opening back up, which led to an opening back up of a lot of anxiety because, you know, people were out there behaving as if COVID doesn't exist anymore. And it was so hot for so much of the time that we have to pay attention to how we exercise, where we exercise. Are we hydrating enough? Are we pushing ourselves too hard for the environmental stressors, you know? So I definitely also struggled with my own exercise over the summer. And I am also looking forward to getting my stamina back. And I think we all sort of felt that, and that's why we're slowly ramping back in to class. And we're gonna get there. I mean, sloths are adorable. And sloths, like, I feel like we use the word sloth as a pejorative, but sloths are cool. Like fezzes. All right, let's go over our exercises, shall we? Mm-hmm. So we're gonna have 4 exercises total. And we will have our usual 2-minute intervals. Today, we will start with a range of 15 to 20 reps, okay? So we're starting kind of low, depending, but no matter how much you want to, don't go over 20. We're gonna build over the course of the month. So first exercise, and again, I don't frequently do this because it can be hard to find 2 objects with the same weight, with the same shape, just lying around our house. So if you have something that is sort of bigger and heavier that you can maneuver with both hands, that is a totally fine modification. But if you have, say, a vegetable oil and a canola oil bottle, then you can do a very nice set of dumbbell presses. So we start with the weight sort of here at shoulder length. If you're using like a bar or a single object that you're pushing up in front of you, you want to bring it to the top of your chest. And then we push up and then we lower down. And we go up and down and up and down. The other thing about our home weights is just paying attention to what kind of a grip you have on the object, okay? Because again, these aren't designed with weightlifting in mind, so, you know, I would never have to sort of get this like claw grip on a weight at the gym because they all come with very easy to use handles. So if you're trying to use an object that you are struggling to maintain control over, it's probably not a good object to use, okay? All right, so we have our dumbbell presses. Then we're gonna do good old goblet squats. We haven't done that in a while. I may go to the books for this because honestly, for this exercise, the oil is not as much weight as I want. Yeah, this is nice. So I would be doing this with a kettlebell if I was in the gym, just holding it in front of me. I'm taking my feet to about hip width apart, maybe a little bit wider. Now we squat down and up and down and up. And the weight that we're holding just gives us a little extra resistance so that our legs have to work a little bit harder to be able to push us back into a standing position, okay? And then we're gonna do one arm at a time, and we're gonna be doing we're gonna be doing 4 sets of everything, so that will be fine. We're gonna do an upright row, and I want you, whatever hand you have the weight in, put the opposite foot forward, so we're in this kind of demi lunge, all right? And I can put my other hand on my knee just for stability, and then row up, down, down, like that, okay? And each time we come back to that exercise, we'll switch arms and switch sides, okay? I recommend starting with your weaker side first so that you know how much capacity it has, so you're not aiming the number of reps you do, again, towards your stronger side instead of your weaker, okay? And finally, we're gonna do front lunges, but we're gonna be stepping back for them. So holding a weight in front of us, again, like we do for the goblet squat. And normally I teach this with us stepping forward into the lunge. I want you to try stepping backward into the lunge, okay? So we step back, double back leg lunge. We want that front knee not pushing over the toes. Then we step forward to our standing position and go back on the other side, okay? All right, so dumbbell presses, goblet squats, our one-armed bent over rows, and our front lunges, but stepping back instead of front, okay? So everybody get your stuff together. Make sure you have all your items. Make sure you are on your mat with whatever you're using for the dumbbell presses. And as soon as you hear that timer, you start your 15 to 20 reps, all right? Here we go. And this is always the most exciting part of these exercises for me, is trying to count while also talking the whole time, okay? Because, yeah, that is a lot of multitasking, and we're not necessarily great at multitasking, honestly. We all think that we are, but multitasking is a much harder thing than we give it credit for. So every once in a while, I will stop talking and just let myself focus on the number of reps I'm trying to do. And that's okay. I know that we will be able to keep ourselves entertained, even if I'm not talking a mile a minute every single minute. Yeah, hung around and chilled. See, and that's the other thing. It's like, again, rest is so important, and it's so easy for us to devalue it. And when we devalue it, that is a start for us not paying attention to our bodies and to what their needs are and to what they're trying to tell us. And that, it just never goes anywhere good. So, you know, I am frustrated that I didn't exercise a ton over the summer. I also recognize that I clearly, all right, goblet squats, here we are, that I clearly needed that break. I needed that rest, my friends, and I was lucky that I didn't get to a point where I was trying so hard to push through that I ended up with an injury or with an illness, you know, because that is frequently what ends up happening. Is we keep insisting that we're fine, we keep insisting that we have the energy, that we have the bandwidth, and then what happens is our body goes, all right, well, you haven't been listening to me when I've been yelling at you, so boom, now you're sick, or boom, now you're injured, and now you have to rest. because you literally can't do the thing anymore. And so, you know, it's interesting. I like this. You're sort of in real time watching me realize that despite how much I remind you of the importance of rest, I also struggle with that as a positive concept. And I struggle with giving myself permission to need rest and take it. It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing, particularly for those of us raised in, you know, very, very puritanical, very, if you're not working, then you are worthless as a human being societies. It can be a really hard topic to address, and just a really hard concept for us to wrap our heads around and to give ourselves grace on, and to be like, no, working myself into an early grave is not actually a beneficial thing or a more moral thing. It's not. And I don't really gain any value by trying to convince myself that it is. What I gain is anxiety. And I've got plenty of that already. Make sure you're still drinking plenty of water, okay? Just because this isn't as intensive on our cardiovascular system does not mean that we don't still hugely benefit from hydration. And frankly, most of us are pretty bad at hydrating ourselves anyway. It's kind of remarkable how bad we can be at that. So, drink your water. We've got these nice rest periods, sort of let our muscles recover, and plenty of time to go find that water bottle and enjoy yourself. Oh boy, yeah. All right, now for our front lunges that we're stepping back for. And if you're wondering why I want us to test this out, it's because I have noticed in the past when doing these exercises that if I'm stepping forward, I have more of a tendency to push my knee too far forward and to then get a lot of knee pain from the exercise. So I'm testing out, okay, am I able to do this a little bit more safely if we're stepping backwards instead of forwards. Another thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning, but you probably already intuitively figured out, our front squats, obviously, they're rep 1, rep 2, rep 3, rep 4. We're doing side to side. And we want to make sure that we're evened out. So for that, you know, everything else is 15 to 20 reps. For that, it's 16 to 20 reps because you want to make sure you're doing an even number of reps so that you're not underworking one of your legs, okay? All right, my friends. Well, we're done with our first set. Only 3 more to go. Oh my goodness. And I know I have not had my trusty laundry detergent bottle in a while. Don't worry, it's still there. It just has been used so much that it doesn't have nearly as much heft to it anymore. And so it's a little less effective as a weight training tool for me right now. So that's why I decided to move over to the oil bottles. And they're honestly a very nice replacement for the laundry detergent. The only thing that is more complicated with them is the handle, because again, as I said, I have to do sort of a grip, a claw grip, rather than being able to wrap my hand around a handle. But yeah, they are a good replacement. And you know, at some point, I'll get another Costco of laundry detergent, and then that detergent bottle will absolutely make its way back up for class. But for now, it's living permanently in the laundry room, and I'm sure it's fine with that, because I'm not wrangling it upstairs once a week to throw it around. One of the other things to talk about when we're talking about the types of objects that we use for this class is, again, we've dug into this a little bit, but fluid mechanics. If you are using something that has liquid in it of some kind. So using a laundry detergent bottle or cooking oil bottles means that I am using an object that has a movable force on the inside, and that force takes a special focus to be able to safely control, okay? So you want to make sure that you are not trying to just rush yourself through the motions, because if the fluid moves in a direction that you're not expecting it to, that action, that movement can pull you off course, and again, can set you up for injury. So make sure, if you're using something that has liquid in it, just take it easy while you learn how the liquid moves, because you are going to make small micro adjustments to be able to safely move the object based on when you feel the liquid, you know, pushing in this direction or pulling in this direction, and your muscles are going to be trying to compensate for that extra movement, you know. So if I'm trying to push this up and the oil is trying to slosh in that direction, my muscles are going to be engaging in a way they normally wouldn't need to for that exercise, in order to keep the weight from sort of flying off to the side. All right? All right. Woo! How's everybody doing? I'm doing pretty well. And honestly, I'm doing a remarkably good job of counting while I talk, which is good, because that is always the trickiest part of teaching this particular structure of class. You know, when we're just doing sort of regular months for functional home fitness, it's not as big of a deal because I don't count quite as religiously. I instead pay attention to where I am on the timer, and I try to stop at a similar time each time, and assuming that I have a similar rhythm and speed going on each side, then I can assume I'm doing about the same number of reps on each side. But for these ramp ups, I really do try to count, and that absolutely presents challenges. One of the things that I would recommend, if that's an issue that you have, not because you're, talking the whole time, but just because it can be difficult when there is a teacher talking the whole time to keep count for ourselves. And I've definitely had that issue in some classes that I've taken. So a tool, a very obvious but often forgotten tool, the metronome. And the metronome keeps a steady beat, so we don't need to worry about it speeding up or slowing down. It keeps going for as long as we need it to. And so if you are struggling to, keep count, maybe feel like you're losing your rhythm each time, then I definitely recommend trying a metronome and letting that help to just keep you a little bit more on the beat. And that in turn can help keep you a little bit more on the count in terms of the number of reps that you're doing. All right, my friends, we are halfway through. We've done 2 sets down, 2 more to go. So it really starts to feel like it just blasts by. It's fascinating. Whoa. Got some dark clouds outside. It's fascinating because it's dark clouds, but they've also got this bluish yellowish tint, which tells me that over by the mountains is still, the sun is still coming through and probably a little bit of the sky. So we're just getting these fascinating light reflections all over everything. Wow. All right, round 3. I have discovered that the vegetable oil bottle feels slightly heavier than the canola oil bottle. So I am changing sides each time. And that's another way that you can manage just the differences in weight. We have a lot of things in our house that are similar in size and shape and weight, but not the same. And that can be a real hassle. So, you can have 2 books that visually look about the same size, look about the same shape, but once you start lifting with them, you can tell that they're just slightly different from each other in terms of weight. And if that's something that you've noticed with 2 objects that you're using, my approach is always just switch hands each time. Honestly, I used to do something similar with the laundry detergent bottle in terms of its orientation, because again, it wasn't shaped symmetrically. So talking about fluid resistance again, the fluid inside it would move more strongly in one direction than the other. And so I would generally try to switch back and forth which way the spout of the bottle was pointing, so that it just evened out which side, which arm had to deal with that extra little bit of resistance. So that is absolutely a trick that I use all the time for this class, and one that I really recommend that you dig into, because you know, we have to make a lot of little modifications for this class, and there is nothing wrong with that. Absolutely not. We are being creative. We are learning how to work with the tools at our disposal, and that is a hugely important skill to learn. And it means that we have to think about things that we probably don't have to think about in the gym. You know, in the gym, I don't have to worry about the olive oil, you know, sloshing in a different direction each time, depending on which hand I have it in or something like that. So just whenever we're doing this class, modification and attention are key, okay? Because we want to make sure that we understand all of the mechanics of whatever item we're using, so that we are minimizing any surprise fluctuations that might lead to injury down the line, okay? It all comes down to minimizing our chance of injury so that we can be as active as we want for as long as we want. Shame on me. Took me a little bit longer than usual to get myself set up there. But, you know, for this class, it's less of a critical component because we have 2 full minutes. So we know that if we get started slightly later than we usually do, that's not generally going to get in the way of either our rest or being able to get all of the work in that we need to get in, you know, as opposed to when we're doing tabatas, say, where if you don't start exactly with that horn on a 20-second timer, well, suddenly you've just lost a good percentage of that timer. And that absolutely has an impact on the overall value that you're getting from that particular interval. So we worry about it less here on our Fridays, but it's still good practice to make sure that you are ready to go when that timer goes, you know? It is still good practice, and I do want to model good practice when at all possible. Oh my goodness, feeling good, my friends? Getting back to some nice, intensive weight training. I am quite pleased, honestly, to be rocking out with this class again. All right, woo! I started with a different foot this time, so I'm gonna have to pay attention to my sets and make sure that my count doesn't get off. Honestly, doing exercises where there is a side 1 and a side 2 is very helpful for these classes when I'm trying to count at the same time, because it just gives me a much clearer marker for when I have done a certain number of reps. And so, you know, instead of having to count every single one, I just have to pay attention to 2, 4, 6, 8. And that doesn't necessarily seem like it would be that different, but it really is. It really is. Oh, okay. Well, my friends, we are coming around to our last set. Last time through these 4 exercises. Until next week anyway. Remembering that we want our form to be just as good for this last set, this last round, as it was for our first. Okay? So making sure that we're checking in on our form, and you know, this starting week, I don't talk as in depth because this is our week of getting to know the exercises. Next week is when we will start to really dive in to what we're doing, what we want to focus on, and how we can push ourselves forward, how we can ramp up over the coming weeks. There we go. Yeah. All right. There we go. Just needed to focus in on my counting a little bit. Oh man. Yeah. How are we feeling? Woo! Oh, I am enjoying this class. And you know, I think that once we are done with our sets, I think I'm gonna run a calf awareness. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've done some calf awareness, my friends. But I think that would be a lovely sort of cool down for us to end on. Hoo boy, yeah, yeah. How are those calves feeling? Are they excited? They ready? That balance? Oh my goodness. So many things that you haven't had to think about for a few months there. And here they all are again. But that's okay, because again, we are allowing ourselves grace for ramping back up, for building our stamina back up, and we are not going to worry about hitting PRs today or anything like that. We are just going to focus in on doing the exercises and doing them correctly. Okay? Yeah. Remember, exhaling on the effort, a really nice way to get ourselves through the most intensive section of an exercise so that we can move through the hardest part. And you know, it helps us to push that motion without overthinking it, without getting bound up in the center of it. So it's a good technique for reminding ourselves to breathe. It's also just a good motivational technique, you know. So using our breath is absolutely a tool, okay? Oh, man. It feels good to be doing class again, my friends. It feels really good to be back here with you all. I definitely think I missed this. And that is a lovely thing to feel, because there's always that sort of concern that when you go back to something that you haven't done in a while, that you're going to feel differently about it. And I have really been excited and just inspired again to be teaching class. And that is a damn good feeling. And I think, you know, it tells me a few things. It definitely tells me that I still have the joy of this. You know, this is still something I'm really excited to do. I love teaching. I love helping people to feel like they're, you know, becoming healthier, becoming stronger, becoming more powerful. I love that sense of community that we get to have coming here and doing an intense workout and, you know, feeling a little worn by the end, but also feeling proud of ourselves for what we have achieved today and what we are achieving on a longer term basis. And so it's good to remind myself that I still have that joy. I think too, though, it's also a good reminder that I probably need to do more deliberate, just full breaks from streaming, you know? And not just sort of go until, you know, I hit a wall and I can't go any farther. Because that first year and change, really, because it was really up to June, I would take breaks here and there, absolutely, and occasionally even full week breaks, but I never took the kind of time that I took off over this past summer. And that, again, when we talk about rest, that's not a healthy way to do it. That's not me paying attention to my body and brain's needs. That's me just sort of going forward, and even, you know, when February came around, when April came around and things were changing and suddenly there were so many more demands on my time, I was still just determined that no, nothing has to change about class, about what I'm doing with stream. And, you know, that determination didn't help, and just led to me having to sort of peace out from the internet for a while. So yeah, these are both good things to discover and to think about a lot more seriously as the stream continues. All right, my friends, oh my goodness, it's our first Rocktober class. I know I haven't put the hashtag on anything yet because that takes energy that I don't feel is necessary to put into it right now. But, well done, everybody. That was a nice little workout. That, I definitely, you know, I can feel the work, I can feel the sweat, and now let's do some calf awareness, my friends. It's been so long since we've done the calf awareness. Push those out of the way a little bit and find that timer. All right, hopefully you remember how this goes. We are going to start on our mats, and as soon as you hear that horn, you are going to balance flat on one foot. And that's all that you need to worry about to start with. So we're just doing this. And you may feel a significant difference doing calf awareness after a strength training session as opposed to one of our cardio or perpetual motion classes. So pay attention to that. Let me know how it feels. But yeah, so here we are. We're just balancing flat on one foot. You want to make sure that any adjustments that you need to make to maintain the balance are happening in the foot and the ankle only. So we're not waving our hands around. We're not bringing this other leg out in weird directions, anything like that. So, how do we do that? Well, we make sure that all of our stabilizers are really engaged. So, starting with those abdominal muscles, because we love starting there. They do important work. And then, well, switching to the other side. But yeah, so we start with the abs, engage those abdominals, then engage the glutes on the working side and the quads on the working side. So basically, this is just tying all the moving parts basically down to my knee together in one nice stable package. So by the time we get down to the ankle, it's not trying to control a bunch of disparate components. It's just taking this one stable entity and going, all right, I just need to guide this. This is fine, okay? So, especially doing this right now, we want to focus on those stabilizers. When the horn goes off again, back to that first foot, and this time we are balancing up on the ball of the foot. So, we are immediately ramping up the difficulty. All right, so you want all the same things that we had in our first round, but you want to do them from the ball of the foot. And this is a lot harder to maintain the whole time, particularly if you are on a flexible surface like I am. These puzzle pieces are great for cushioning my joints when I'm doing jumping exercises, but they make balancing a lot trickier because they are not firm surfaces. So they move, they stretch, they change under my feet. So if you need to come out of the balance, and obviously I need to do that a ton, there is still a way to do that that continues the solid work. All right, other side that we're doing here. So if you're going to balance as long as you can, you're going to engage those stabilizers, and then when you're like, I have to come out, don't let yourself fall out. Lower the heel deliberately, reset, come back up, and again, okay? And you'll see me moving around on the mat each time I reset. That's just to try and find an area that hasn't been pushed down. I don't know if that helps, but you know, it is a helpful mental exercise. But yeah, even that deliberate lowering and raising is still helping to strengthen our quads. Now when the horn goes off again, back to the first side, and we are rocking up onto the ball, and then rocking back onto the heel. So still balancing on one foot, rock up onto the ball, back onto the heel. Up onto the ball, back onto the heel, okay? And I frequently will go down onto the floor for that, just because it's harder to rock back onto the heel on the thicker, more flexible pad. When I was still teaching at the BRC, we had padded mats for this class, but they were stiffer, so it was easier to be able to do this rocking motion on the pad. You weren't sinking down quite as much, but these puzzle pieces definitely make it harder to do that. So that's why I move off the mat. All right, other side, same thing. And one thing that can help us so that we're not overbalancing or sort of falling around is find one spot, either on the wall in front of you or really far ahead on the floor. One unmoving spot, and just focus your eyes on that spot. And that is going to ground you. It's going to anchor you. So even though we're moving, we're not losing our spatial awareness, all right? Now, when that horn goes off, our final time, both feet on the floor, rock up onto both heels, and don't let the balls of the feet come down until the end of the timer. So, rock up, and we balance as long as we can, and if you feel that you need to move around a bit, you can, and then try to balance again. All right, pay attention to those stabilizers. How are they doing? Are your abdominals still engaged? Because I promise you, that's gonna help you to maintain balance on the heels like this. And we want to be pulling those toes up. This is gonna really engage your shins. It's gonna feel really intense, okay? So make sure you're breathing. We got 10 seconds left, lots of breathing. Try to find that balance. Shift if you need to, but hold as much as you can. Stabilizers, and let those feet come down. Woo! All right, and then just roll over the top of your toes and just apply a little bit of pressure so you feel a stretch coming up the top of the foot and up into the shin. And you can just sort of go back and forth on your own time. You know, you'll definitely feel the stretch, so just back and forth. And we're not like leaning all of our weight onto the toes or anything like that. You're just applying a little bit of pressure just to deepen that stretch. Oh, okay. Wow. How'd that feel, doing that after weight training instead of after a more cardio intensive class? Maybe it felt exactly the same. I know that for me, it felt easier to maintain the balances because my muscles weren't already tired. Good. I'm glad that it felt good. And that's, you know, that's the goal. We do a lot of things that are a lot, but hopefully they feel good anyway. Not go good with the heels yet. Yeah, the heels are tricky. The heels are definitely tricky. But like everything, practice makes better. Fitness Friend says, practice does not make perfect. Perfect is an unrealistic standard and an unattainable goal. Practice makes better. And that's what we want. We want to practice so that we feel more comfortable, so that we feel more confident, and so that we feel safer. Hey, it's a good group of things to focus in on, I'd say. There we go. That's the nice thing about this class, is that I have more time to drink water overall. So I am much more likely to actually finish my own water during class. Oh, thank you so much for joining today, my friends. Oh, what fun. And so these are going to be the exercises that we work with over the next few weeks. You know, generally when we're doing strength training, the ways that we ramp up, we focus on one of two things. Like, there are many variables that we can adjust, but the big two are upping the number of reps or upping the amount of weight, okay? Not necessarily doing both at the same time, all right? There's a reason we have the concept of the 1 rep maximum, which is the maximum amount of weight that we can use to do 1 rep flawlessly, okay? And we don't really dig into that too much in this class. This is free weights focused. We're not doing Olympic lifting, you know, because most of us don't have analogs for that in our home. But the concept still applies, where if I am like, okay, I want to work on increasing the amount of weight that I'm able to lift. Cool, awesome. You're probably going to have to ramp back the number of reps you do to start, okay? And then build that strength up towards a place where, okay, I can add some more reps back in. And now what used to be my, you know, 5 rep max or my 10 rep max is now my 10 or my 15, you know? But if I'm upping the number of reps I'm doing, I don't want to change the amount of weight I'm using. And if I'm upping the amount of weight that I'm using, I probably want to, you know, keep the same number of reps or maybe even ramp back a little bit on the number of reps, okay? So it's a balancing act. It's always a balancing act. And I focus on reps for these ramp ups just because we, again, ramping up the amount of weight when we're not using gym equipment specifically is a much harder thing to do safely and deliberately. So generally I find that for the types of things that we're lifting here at home, focusing in on upping the number of reps we can do is still helping us to build that strength out. We're just going about it in a different way. But if you have equipment at home that you're using for these classes, feel free to, you know, keep doing 15 reps each week, but up the amount of weight if that's how you want to approach the ramp up. That is absolutely a solid technique. And I may not talk about it a ton in class, but that does not mean that it's not a good technique. Okay, you know what, friends? I have an evening to myself, and I'm going to go enjoy it, I think. But this was absolutely wonderful. Week 2, back on the stream, in the books. It's such a pleasure to be here. It is such a pleasure to be teaching again, and I am really happy to have y'all, you know, back on the stream, hanging out again. So good to see you and just, you know, feel pleased about us getting together. So, yeah. And maybe I'll read up on all of the strikes that are happening. Yay, support your local unions. The IATSE one, the Hollywood one, which I feel is how most people know it, is one that is particularly important to me because one of my partners is in that particular union, so he's on strike right now. And I'm very proud and I'm very excited. I'm excited that the Nabisco workers got fucking Nabisco back to the table. I'm excited that Kellogg's brands are all on strike right now. I'm excited for IATSE. I'm just thrilled to see so many people, you know, exercising our power as communities, as actual human beings with human being needs. Yeah, we support strikes in this channel. We support unions in this channel. And you know, my dad was a teacher. He was in the teachers union, you know, and I remember them going on strike a couple of times when I was a kid. And I remember people complaining about it and, oh, you know, it's putting the whole sports schedule off and all this bullshit. And I remember literally getting up one time in assembly and being like, you know, I'm really proud of people who do something that is super hard to stand up for something that is super important. And yeah, hell yeah, unions. So support your friends who are in unions. Give them all your love, give them all your support. If you have friends or loved ones in IATSE or who are striking at any of the Kellogg's plants, just yay. Lots of support. Don't cross those picket lines. Don't buy Kellogg's products. Fuck off Hollywood producers trying to make people work for more hours with less food and less money. And yeah, all right. And with that tangent out of the way, now I'm gonna go relax. So this was our last class for this week. I don't think I am gonna do a surprise weekend kickoff tomorrow. I think that I want to take the entire weekend for myself to just relax. But that is still something that will get woven in every once in a while. So just always keep an eye out. And I'll try to give you, several days notice. I'll try not to spring surprise 9 a.m. Mountain Time class, like the day before or anything like that. But next week we will be back with the current 2-class schedule. I've missed weekend kickoffs too, honestly. That was one of my favorites. So it will come back, just not tomorrow. But yeah, so next week will be the usual 2-class schedule. So Wednesday we have jump around, weekly cardio class. Friday we have functional home fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around the house. Both classes start at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time, and they will both be week 2 of our class ramp up for the month of October, Rocktober, yay Halloween. So definitely keep coming and keep testing yourself and pushing yourself and see where you're at by the end of the month. Woo! You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All those handles are in my end cards, but they are all variations on Blanche K's Fitness. My YouTube channel is where I upload all the VODs from these streams, so you never have to miss a class, even if you can't make the live cast. So head on over there and subscribe. If you want to help support me financially in making these streams, I have a Ko-fi account for one-time donations, or you can subscribe to this channel. Yeah. And if you want to help keep growing this community, then please tell your friends, loved ones, coworkers, anyone looking for an awesome class. I stream 2 days a week right now, occasionally surprise 3. But we have an awesome community here, and the more the merrier. Now, make sure to finish that water if you haven't. Fill that back up. Keep hydrating. Get yourself some dinner. Start replenishing those energy stores. Take that celebratory post-workout shower. And I will see you all back here again on Wednesday. Mwah! Have a great night.